These days, more and more folks are turning to the church looking for answers to their questions. But the questions aren't always about our faith. Since we've established our garden ministry at St. John, we often get questions from new gardeners looking for help making their home gardens thrive. We think this is great because lessons from the garden often become lessons of the soul, when guided by Holy Scripture and the teachings of Church Fathers. So join us for some lessons from the garden.
Hi, this is Yeretzkin Annie here at St. John's Garden, and today we're going to be talking about staggered planting and how your garden will provide for a continuous harvest. You see the timing here, we have staggered some of the planting, so we can be harvesting some from here, but we'll have some ready here in about a month or so. And then we'll be seeding some more here. Sometimes we get really excited and we want to plant our entire garden at once, and then what you're left with is an entire garden full of crops to harvest at once. So it's a good idea to stagger planting. I know sometimes we get really excited, you get a lot of seeds and you want to plant them all, but it's a good idea to maybe quarter your bed, and you could do a portion of it, and then a week later you could seed another portion of it, and then so forth, and then you could just continually rotate that so you have a consistent harvest of that crop. So here's a good example of staggered planting. We just planted these sugar snap peas here about 2 weeks ago. The tomatoes here are just about to get ripened. And then we've got some collard greens here that are towards the end of their life. So we'll be pulling these out soon.
Thank you, Yeretzkin. Wow, thanks for showing us that when we want to plant in the garden and we use forethought and intentionality, it can be productive all year long. You just need a plan and the diligence to stick to that plan. Now, there's an old saying that goes, if you want to make God laugh, then tell him about your plans. That may describe how most of us feel about the plans that we make. But does that mean that we aren't supposed to have expectations? While it's true that Christ cautioned his disciples from overthinking things, like when he told them not to worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will worry about itself, he also spoke about the importance of preparation, such as when he told the parable of the 10 maidens. So which is it? Do we live day by day, or do we make plans and stick to them? The truth is that Christ is calling us to a way of life that is a convergence of both of these approaches. But it has to be centered not on our will, but on his. The proud man seeks to bend the world to his will and to see his plans to fruition, but the holy man bends himself to God's will, and he does what he can to fulfill his part of God's plan. The garden is a place where this harmony of planning and submission become manifested through the work that we do. Since this series began, I conclude each episode by saying, may God grant the increase. This actually comes from St. Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, when he uses the garden as an analogy, just like we're trying to do today, probably better. When St. Paul speaks of himself and Apollos, his colleague, and how they preached the gospel in this way. He says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then neither he who plants is anything, nor he who waters, but God who gives the increase. Now he who plants and he who waters are one, and each one will receive his own reward according to his own labor. In other words, St. Paul and St. Apollos are like us gardeners, doing what they can to help make something grow. But he acknowledges that we're just part of a much bigger process, And in the end, God is the one that makes it all possible. In our lives, let's remember that God, and not ourselves, is at the center of all things. And when we work with Him, anything is possible. So once again, good luck in the garden, God bless you, and may God grant the increase.